Charlie Kirk a sleepwalker? Yep, I said it, sleepwalker. Believe it or not, it's come up in a lot of discussion about Charlie Kirk and his assassination. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on this episode of Charlie Crimebuster, which is called by many the fastest minutes in podcasting.
The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are solely those of the individuals participating and do not represent those of city, county, state, or federal law enforcement agencies, nor sponsors and platforms of this presentation. The Charlie Crimebuster name and all forms and abbreviations are property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. All individuals described or mentioned in the presentation should be considered innocent unless or until found guilty in a court of law. This presentation contains adult subject matter. Listener and viewer discretion is advised.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Charlie Crimebuster. Sure glad to have you aboard the Charlie Crime train today. We appreciate every listener, whether you're a seasoned listener or just a one-time listener, first-time listener. We invite you to reach out with a shout-out. You can reach me, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. And if you have questions about the podcast, maybe suggestions about other topics you'd like us to cover, or maybe you'd like to lodge an objection. Hey, I just don't agree with you. It is a safe spot, so reach out with that shout-out, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com. Hey, don't forget, check out our sponsor, peacemakernetwork.com. There you'll read about the brave men and women who run toward danger instead of away from danger, and you can be a part of supporting that great group of heroes, both men and women, who are out there laying their life on the line to protect ours. That's peacemakernetwork.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel, and also, please take a moment right now, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified every time we drop an episode. Again, welcome aboard the Charlie Crime train today.
The following podcast is brought to you by peacemakernetwork.com. peacemakernetwork.com. Audio is provided by pixabay.com. That's pixabay.com.
Well, you may wonder why we're spending so much time talking about Charlie Kirk. Well, it seems to be the crime of a century almost, because so many people are talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and it goes on and on and on. Partly because there are some really big-time influencers out there that are continuing to report on the Charlie Kirk assassination. And some of them are coming up with some pretty wild things for sure. We're going to talk about those on today's program. Of course, probably leading the pack is Candace Owen, who at one time has had the top podcast in the entire world, as far as downloads are concerned, that is. And this last week, she mentioned the fact that Charlie Kirk told her that he was a time walker. Now, what does that mean? We're going to get into that on today's program. But you may be asking yourself, as I have been asking myself, why are so many people, and I'm talking about millions of people, following these outrageous claims by Candace Owen and other influencers? And I kind of thought about that and looked at some stuff, did some research, and here's what I come up for you. One of the reasons why she has so much popularity of a group of people is because she is exploiting what is called an existing distrust in the minds of people. She's tapping into pre-existing skepticism about institutions. And when I say that, I'm talking about the government, media, and global organizations. And when she then turns around and says, hey, I've got something to share with you, this is a secret plot. Oh, it's secret. It's secret. They don't want you to know about this. And it involves CIA. It involves planes in Egypt. It involves Israel. It involves our government. It involves President Trump. When she says all those things, it involves the wife of Charlie Kirk. Well, she resonates with audiences that are already inclined to distrust authority. So she's tapping into that. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's very clever. Then when she gets that group of people and she begins to talk with that group of people, she then begins to build a community around those folks. And she's done that very, very well in her podcast. She reaches out and says, oh, we're doing this together. thankful for all the mommy sleuths out there. Boy, they know what they're doing. And she feeds into this to where people feel that they're a part of, well, kind of a little clique. And we all like to be parts of clique, right? Even back in high school, you like to kind of hang with that group of people that you hung with, right? So here she is now finding this community that's building a wall around her, and she can do no wrong because she's building that loyalty with a group of listeners who are already inclined to be distrustful of the government. And this amplifies this loyalty engagement, even though some of these claims, well, they're wild and they're crazy and they're debunked. And yet she still has that. Then you take on top of that the digital superhighway we have today. Somebody hears something, they share it with somebody else shares it with somebody else, and then it grows and grows and grows, and then you bring the bots in. Oh, let me tell you about the bots. Oh, the bots, they're there. The Russian bots and so many other. These are just really people that will amplify whatever you put out there and make it look like it's popular till the point that it becomes very, very popular. And then she does what, well, as old as the woods these days. She becomes a shock jock. Remember a shock jock? That was when people would get on the radio and say these outrageous things, and they were so outrageous, so out there, that it really resonated with a lot of people to see what they're going to say next. It's almost like this. You're driving down the road and you see on the other side of the highway in the interstate, you see an accident. And we're this way, folks. We just can't look away. We've got to look at the accident. We've got to look at it. You know, we know it's an accident. We probably don't know the people involved in it, but yet we just can't look away. And that's what is happening now with Candace Owen. People just can't look away. They got to keep looking. What's she going to say this week? What kind of crazy thing is she going to throw out there? Even though you know many of her followers know it's crazy, know it's out in left field, know that there's no real evidence to it. We just can't look away. And yours truly, Charlie Crimebuster, I guess I'm guilty of that too, because I just cannot look away from the fact that she's doing so much crazy broadcasting and podcasting and such things that are so out there in left field. Why would anybody believe it? But somehow we just can't look away. But here's the downfall of it. Some of these things are harmful. And we're going to mention some of those things that are harmful in today's podcast. So thank you for being on board. We're going to talk about, I'm going to give time to talk about where in the world she comes up with this time traveler situation about Charlie Kirk. And we're going to talk about some other things too. And we're going to talk about how these things are not helpful. In many ways, they are harmful. But now let's take our breath. Let's take a moment and let's take time to share with you what we call Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook of the Week. Well, our crazy crook story today is an Alabama man, not a Florida man. Nope, not a Florida man, not a Florida guy, but an Alabama man. And he was chased by the po-po. Mr. Gillis of Leeds, Alabama, well, he led police on the chase, but seemed to stop at nearly every recognizable business in town. Police first responded to a report that Gillis, 31 years of age, committed a theft at a Bass Pro Shop. He then fled to a nearby Chevron parking lot. Well, they got there, and then, again, he decided he didn't want to be caught. That's when, believe it or not, he jumped onto the rear vehicle of a vehicle stopped to the nearby intersection. Driver took off, but he held on and rode the truck all the way to Buc-ee's parking lot. And then when it stopped there at Buc-ee's, well, then he ran to another parked car. There was a young man, juvenile, standing outside, tried to shut the rear door, but, our crazy crook forced it open, climbed into the back seat, then he moved to the driver's seat, but before he could drive away, well, the vehicle owner returned, and he said, no, grabbed him, pulled him out of the seat, and then he, of course, ran away from that guy, fled on foot once again. And as it always happens, the popo found him. hiding beneath a nearby trash compactor. Well, they arrested our crazy crook without further incident, and surprise, 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 found fentanyl on him. Now they say that our crazy crook is wanted on multiple felony warrants, being held without bail. Charges include first-degree kidnapping, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle by force, unlawful possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute it, and then second-degree retail theft, tampering with physical evidence, attempting to elude resisting arrest, and, of course, disorderly conduct. Folks, it does not pay to run from the popo. And that's what our crazy crook found out all the way from the state of Alabama. So that, my friend, is Charlie Crimebuster's Crazy Crook of the Week. All right, let's get into this time walker deal of Candace Owen. In her January the 14th podcast, it was a episode entitled Project Looking Glass. She says this, quote, unquote, "It is an absolute fact that Charlie Kirk thought that he was a time traveler. He told me he was a time traveler repeatedly. I showed you guys the text message exchange." She actually claimed that Kirk had texted her saying he was a time traveler and, quote, unquote, had to find her. She said she did not take that seriously at first, but now she's revisited the idea after his assassination. And then she brings in this whole deal about the CIA program, an alleged CIA program, I say, that she says that they used technology to view future timelines. She even got into this whole rigmarole about agents like those in the Matrix, who were supposedly monitoring Charlie Kirk since childhood, that he was this special person, kid, that was a time traveler, and that he had been marked since childhood. The CIA was watching him as he grew up. She said that she even believed that Kirk was sent to an X-Men school for gifted children instead of just being medicated as a child. And then she says that because he was quote-unquote marked early in life, well, they knew something about Charlie. And they somehow believe that killing him then would change the outcome of something happening in the future. Well, she really went off the rails on this one, as you can well see, but it is resonating with some people. But for the most part, those who are sane, I should say, really realize that this is bizarre and it's unfounded. And a lot of people are seeing it for what it is, as this insane way that she is pushing extreme narratives for nothing more than clickbait and to gain more followers. I frankly don't even know how to defend this because I wouldn't defend it. I don't even know how to. I wouldn't even take the time to bring it up except for the fact that it is getting so much attention these days. And this idea, and here's the problem we got. If you can't trust her with something like this, in other words, if something like this is the way she's thinking, why would you believe all the other things that she's saying? Things about Egyptian planes and about Israel being involved in not only the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but even the assassination of JFK. All these things are out there. Then why is it, again, that we are putting any credibility to what she's saying today? But here's the problem. The problem is it's just not just a show, just not a bad accident, car accident for you to can't get your eyes off of. There's something more going on here, and that is the fact that some of the things that she's saying is very harmful. Let me give you an example. She says that Charlie Kirk is her best friend. She says that Charlie Kirk is somebody that's very special to her, and she's diving into this investigation because of the fact that she owes it to Charlie because they were such close friends. Well, if she was such a close friend to Charlie Kirk, why at this point is she doing everything she can to tear down his organization? And she is exactly doing that, even to the point that she told people to stop giving to Turning Point USA. And she's attacked them continually with these innuendos that have no real credibility to it at all, and she's tearing down the organization that Charlie Kirk sweat blood, tears, and even gave his life for in order to do a service to our country. And now she's doing everything she can to tear it down. She's even attacking his wife. She's attacking his family. Now, I would say, if that is your friend, who needs enemies? Because even the enemies of Charlie Kirk have not done the damage that she's attempting to do to the organization and family of Charlie Kirk. This is, in my humble opinion, wrong. It's incorrect. Why would she be doing this? The only answer you have is that she thinks more of herself than she thinks of the organization that Charlie died for. She thinks more of herself than she does the family of Charlie Kirk. She's interested in clickbait. She's interested in becoming so famous before other people that she doesn't really worry about throwing anybody else under the bus. And she's just as much as said that. And so this is the thing that's so harmful. And not only is it harmful, she's being nothing more than a hypocrite. She's also attacked any faith-based connection to Turning Point USA. She's attacked the Harvest Church. She goes into the fact that, somebody in another country who was working with the Harvest Church here in America, and many of these churches have missionaries all over the country and thousands of people. She's doing what I call the bad apple deal. You know what the bad apple deal? You find one bad apple doesn't mean the whole barrel is rotten, right? And just like cops, there's some bad cops out there. I know there's bad cops out there. I would stand against bad cops out there. But at the same time, that you don't take every cop and say every cop's a bad cop because there's one or two out there that's bad. That's the same thing true in just about any profession that you could even think about. There's always some bad people there. And in faith, unfortunately, there are bad apples. And, if you do believe in God, you believe in the devil, what would the devil want to do? He would want to try to get inside the church and try to attack it any way he can by bringing people down that are in the church. So it's really not surprising that there are some people in faith-based organizations that are bad apples. Well, she'll take one or two of these bad apples and then take an opportunity to attack the entire group of people. And that doesn't mean that all of them are bad. And here's the hypocritical part about it. She spent a whole lot of time talking about faith-based activity and the fact that there's a few bad apples in those areas. But yet she mentions in her podcast that she certainly is devoted to the Catholic Church. She even mentioned that after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, that she had to go to her priest, and her priest had to give her comfort and guidance. And I'm not despairing that. I'm not saying that that's wrong. I think it's great that she has a priest that she can go to. I think it's great that she has a faith that she can go to and it can help her. But look at the hypocrisy here. You think about bad apples, think about all the priests years and years and years of abusing children and how much money they've spent doing that. And there's a few bad apples, there's a few bad priests. She doesn't even think about the Catholic Church that she embraces. She doesn't even mention anything about that because that's her church. But she would turn around and attack other churches. You see the hypocrisy there? You see how she's been a hypocrite? And let me tell you something else. She went after Turning Point USA because they were actually accepting gifts from people who would, when they were older in life, they would will their estate to Turning Point USA. And she said, there's something about that I don't like. She said, that's just wrong. Does she have any idea how many people in the Catholic Church have done exactly what she is against Turning Point USA doing? The Catholic Church is famous for people turning around and leaving their estate to the Catholic Church. And yet she doesn't see that at all. She doesn't see it's the whole idea in the Bible. It talks about the person, who would try to remove a speck out of somebody else's eye while there was a two before in their own eye. Well, that is a classic example of that by far. So she's being very, very hypocritical in the fact that she's attacking all of the Turning Point USA, which is Charlie Kirk's organization. She's attacking that organization for receiving estate giving, which her Catholic Church does all the time. It's just hypocritical. And it just doesn't resonate with me, my friend. All it says to me is she's been a hypocrite, and she's throwing people under the bus, and she's not doing what we call investigative integrity in the investigation of who killed Charlie Kirk. Last week we told you, we gave you evidence. We showed you how the evidence is there. There's no evidence to what she is saying in some of these far out deals that she's bringing to her audience. Another good work that she's attacking is, Liberty University and all the good that Liberty University has done. And then again, she goes back and she finds one or two sour apples, and she does it. Not too long ago, a week or two ago, she was talking about Liberty University and tried to somehow connect it to the Reverend Sun Moon and the Moonies, and the only way she could do that was that there was one guy that worked for Liberty University, Ron Godwin, who actually worked at one time for the Washington Times, and the Washington Times was owned by Reverend Moon and that group. And so by that way, she tried to associate them, and she's constantly doing that. She's constantly going through layer and layer and layer and layer, finding any little thing at all that she can connect to it. Let me give you another example of how she's not doing investigative integrity. Last week, she told us that the suspect that we believe is the one who allegedly shot Charlie Kirk. She talked about how the suspect then, how Tyler actually went to a town some ways away and had a steak dinner, and that the restaurant people there contacted her and said that after he shot Charlie Kirk, he was having a steak dinner. Well, when you look at the truth of it, they did say that they thought that he was there, but she said that she had receipts. She constantly says receipts, but when you look at her receipts, you see that her receipts are not real receipts, because she said that they had the credit card receipt to prove that he was actually at that restaurant. Now, whether he was out there or not, I don't know, but I will tell you this, she did not have true receipts, because the credit card there at that restaurant, the receipts that they got, you cannot find the name of the person. It only shows the last four numbers of the credit card. And she doesn't know Tyler's credit card number. No one else knows it. The FBI has investigated it. The FBI knows, and he may or may not have been there, but the FBI is not going to get on a podcast and broadcast that to the whole world. They're saving their investigation for the court hearing, like I told you about last week. They're using investigative integrity. And now she says, of course, because the FBI is not sharing, that means that they're trying to keep the truth from the American public. They're not trying to keep the truth from the American public. They're simply protecting the integrity of the investigation. But her investigation has no integrity. She says that they have the credit card receipt proving that it was Tyler who was there at that restaurant eating the steak. Now, it may well be, my friend, that he was there. It may well be. It doesn't really impact the investigation whether he was there or whether he wasn't there. Although she said that there's no way he would have done that deed, because what person would use their own credit card to buy something after they killed somebody? Well, I'll tell you, the person who would do that, like I said last week, would be the person who was trying to put an alibi out there that they were several hundred miles or 100 miles or more away from the scene of the crime. But again, she doesn't know anything about investigations other than the fact that she looks for any gossip or anything at all that she can somehow turn into some sort of crazy idea that is going to resonate with somebody out there. The conspiracies, that's what she's going for. She is a conspiracy girl for sure, and she's going to try to find any conspiracy. And if she can't find a conspiracy, she's going to somehow find somebody that she can connect to something so she can make up another conspiracy. And that's what's continually happening in this case. So there you have it. Again, time traveler? I don't think so, my friend. And yet, she seems to be able to take this with a straight face and go through it all. I don't know how she can't just keep from breaking up with laughter herself when she realized what crazy things she's spitting these days out to the American public to try to tie this to the investigation of Charlie Kirk. In fact, I think it cheapens in many, many ways. It cheapens what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. And on top of that, it is attacking the one organization that he did all of his efforts to try to promote, to try to use to do good in the world. So here is my ranting about her ranting. So I think we're about to get to the end of this because I know we've been going on and on about this case, and I thank you for bearing with us with it. A lot of you have said that this is something you're really interested in, you want to hear about it, and if something else comes up of great interest, we will share that, but we're going to be moving on from this because, my friend, I'm tired of looking at the accident, and probably you are too. And we will come back about Charlie Kirk when there's something of real substance to share with you. But next week, we're going to get into some more real crime out there, and we're going to start looking at the investigation from a point of investigation integrity rather than getting into these rumors and conspiracies that abound in the world. So until this time next time, this is Charlie Crimebuster reminding you, be safe, be alert, for the life you save may be your very own.
You have been listening to Charlie Crimebuster. You can find additional information and podcasts at charliecrimebuster.libsyn.com. That's charliecrimebuster.libsyn.com. We would like to thank our sponsor, the Peacemaker Network, and also encourage you to support the first responders, military, and law enforcement personnel by contributing to the Peacemaker Network. That's peacemakernetwork.com. All music and sound effects are courtesy of Pixabay.com. Pixabay.com. You can also support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, tag at Charlie Crimebuster, and then click the subscribe button. By doing so, you'll be notified each time we drop one of our shows. Another more convenient way for you to listen to our podcasts are for you to say to your smart speaker, play Charlie Crimebuster. If you have comments or suggestions, we would love to hear from you. Please send them to charliecrimebuster@gmail.com, charliecrimebuster@gmail.com, or you could call or text us at 407-917-2211. That's 407-917-2211. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you will join us again for another exciting crime episode with Charlie Crimebuster.